In further developments now, Aspen has reached its highest ever 6-month earnings before interest and taxes, as profit has lifted by 3%. The group's revenue increased by 10%, with manufacturing growing by 25% and commercial pharmaceuticals increasing by 4%. It is also generated revenue of over 11 million rand. That's due to the 15% rise in prescription brands, while the commercial pharmaceuticals company absorbed price cuts imposed in China under the National Volume-Based Procurement Scheme. Revenue growth was fueled by expansion in its largest territories, being Africa, the Middle East and the Americas. Aspen CEO Stephen Saad talks to us now about this performance. Thank you so much for your time, Stephen. Our starting point really should be, are you satisfied with these results?
Yeah, it was. It was going to be a very challenging year for us. We knew we had problems in Russia, but particularly in China. And we were able to, as you saw from the numbers you've read, as a group, we've got a lot of diversity geographically, and we were able to withstand it. And something has been hanging over us for a couple of years, and to just have it behind us and out of our base is really a positive for us. And to have got out at the levels we got out, it was sort of beyond our expectations. And it sets us up for good growth now in that business, the commercial part of our business going forward. I think the biggest positive for us is in manufacturing. There's so much that's regulated and very technical in pharmaceutical manufacturing, and that we could achieve what we did in terms of, we spent so much money and we've had no returns over all the years, and we've seen a real kick up in that in this half. So that's what took us to the record in spite of all the challenges, and so it's set up very nicely for the period to go. And we've got a lot of confidence now that our manufacturing will keep growing, and we've guided that we've got about another 2.5 billion rand of EBITDA that we expect to achieve at the very least in our manufacturing over the next couple of years. So yeah, it's a good position to be in, a much better position when we weren't sure where we were in manufacturing. We weren't sure what would happen in China and the impact. I suppose we've caught the falling sword, and we're in a really good position going forward.
The current challenges, you've explained them quite well, and I'm interested in finding out whether these results are any bit of a reflection of the pharmaceutical sector, particularly post a COVID period where a lot of money was pumped into manufacturing and basically dealing within a crisis period, and there was much of a quiet period post that particular event. How is the industry faring?
Yeah, I think the industry is a very regulated industry. Pricing is very regulated. So you read out things like price cuts, and so it's a really tough industry from that point of view. But from an Aspen point of view, we made a decision to invest in sterile manufacturing. It was very useful for the vaccines, very useful to make mRNA, which is what Aspen now makes. But the really big change for capacity now is going to be the sort of weight loss diabetes products. It's completely undersupplied the market, and the opportunity there is massive. And from an Aspen perspective, that is the market that we really want to succeed in. We've got capacities, they're very valuable, and we've been able to get a license to the products as well for not only manufacturing, but also to sell and market the product. So that is something that gets us quite excited for the period ahead.
The latter part is quite a fascinating debate ongoing across the globe, and I'm also interested in finding out about how Aspen would respond to repeated calls for medicines to be made cheaper, particularly in Africa.
Agreed. I mean, firstly, there's cheap is one thing. The other thing is we're not even getting supply in a lot of products. So one, we want supply, and two, we want to make that supply affordable. And that is what Aspen is really trying to position us. We're trying to position ourselves. We don't know how many people who have diabetes, weight loss, simply don't get access to the product, and to access it is pretty expensive. So those are things which we think will have big, profound impacts on volumes, and of course we've got factories, and factories depend on volumes.
Stephen Saad, CEO at Aspen, thank you so much for your time talking us through their latest financial results.